Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Tuesday, the 11th of January. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this Tuesday morning by Joshua Barrie. How are we doing, Joshua?
All good, thank you, Derek. A week today till the football returns.
Wow.
So, there is light at the end of the tunnel, etc., etc.
Yeah, cannot wait for that. Before we continue, I know a lot of you are doing so, guys, and thank you very much for your support. Just hit that subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you haven't already done so as well, make sure you subscribe to the Rangers Review site, rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to take advantage of top quality journalism covering the club you love. Just £2.99 a month. So many of you getting in touch already. This quite a wee bit to talk about, Joshua. Giovanni van Bronckhorst has given an interview to the club, which is good to hear from the manager. He's been speaking about a number of different things, about transfers, the new signing James Sands, and also the Nathan Patterson deal. He's been speaking. He said that my focus is on Rangers. Of course, you read reports about the other teams in the league and their business. That's normal, but the focus is on my team. I'm quite happy with the squad we have now. I also have confidence in the squad. Where there are possibilities to add some players, we will definitely. Of course, Nathan going to Everton was a very good move for him. He was very happy with the move. To get the chance to play in the Premier League at his age is quite fantastic, really. So we're more than happy that we could let him go to Everton. It's going to make the next step in his career. And of course, the club financially, it was a good deal. So I think it was positive for both. On James Sands, he says, I think James can give a lot to the squad. He's a young talent. It's very good to have him here because he's very versatile. He can play in defence. He can play in midfield. We're just going to use him for the coming 18 months. I think he'll be a great addition to the squad. We're all happy to develop him even further and to make him a better player. Have you had a chance to watch that interview, Joshua? What's your main takeouts from it?
Of course, always good to hear from Gio after a couple of weeks off, but more of the same. I think it's interesting now that whenever we've heard from the manager before, aside from that last week before St Mirren, it's always been in this bedlam of fixtures. Where I think the week leading up to St Mirren was the first free midweek he'd had. He called it the first normal training week, and now as he becomes part of the furniture and his staff do as well, you can kind of tell that, and I'm sure he'll have appreciated the extra time to plan without necessarily having to plan for a game in a couple of days. But in terms of what the content of what he's saying, all the right things, I think, as you'd expect. Interesting to hear him talk about Sands and the Patterson move. He called a win-win on another interview as well. He did with I think it was a paper in his homeland. He also spoke about there was a quote I seen, Derek, which was on our website, about the significant differences between his style and Steven Gerrard's, which was interesting. So yeah, as time goes on, as I say, and he gets to work more with the players, he gets more time at the club, you'll see, I think, more and more of his philosophy come through and the squad be morphed more into his image. So yeah, looking forward to speaking to him whenever we do at the end of the week ahead of the Aberdeen game and getting back into a more normal rhythm after this little break.
Yeah, absolutely. He talked in greater details on Rangers TV, folks. I do urge you to have a wee go and check it out. He also sort of laid down the marker from Nathan Patterson's move to the fellow young players in the academy. He says that's what we want. We want the pathway for talents once they're from the academy to take a step to the first team. I think it's very important for the club. It's really good for Leon King, of course, to come to the first team now. He's been around for a couple of years, but now he is with us with the first team. The young players also look to Nathan because it was not long ago that he was in the first team. Still, his talent is recognised by a big club in England, and that's why he's playing for Everton now. I think that pathway for the young youth players is there for them all to take. And it's certainly, I'm sure that the young players will be looking at that, Joshua, Nathan Patterson, and thinking, of course, they will love playing for Rangers, but if they have even bigger ambitions, perhaps the pathway is there. If they work hard, get into the first team, then teams from down south might come calling.
And I think what young players will want these days, given all the work that's put into development, Derek, and they'll want to have a good structure around them. that allows him to develop as a player. And although Nathan Patterson, that pathway to first team football regularly was blocked by James Tavernier, as we've discussed at length, if you read the press release Rangers put out when Patterson moved, you had Craig Mulholland speaking about his development, the amount of contact time, playing against top level opposition, obviously with the types of games that the Rangers B team plays. So, and that's all really important because someone like Leon King, when he has the opportunity or rumoured opportunity and to move elsewhere and to move to clubs which have more TV revenue and they therefore can put more money into their academy system, it must be tempting as a young player to go and have the very best development on offer. But I think what the Patterson move and the King deal is showing is that that's available at Rangers. And I think as much as a pathway, that's almost as important, that you can show players, this is how we're going to develop you, this is how we're going to do it. And this is a product with players like Nathan Patterson worth this much money at 19. So yeah, good to hear the manager speak about it. And we'll all be. I was watching the game, the Everton game. I turned it on Saturday, whatever it was, hoping to see Nathan Patterson start, but he didn't. But I'm sure it will be a matter of time before that right back slot is his own, Derek.
Yeah. I tell you, Everton are in all sorts of trouble in terms of not Nathan Patterson's doing, of course, but in terms of Benitez and the team. There's a number of issues down there at Goodison at the moment. There's so many questions coming in. We'll try and reach as many of them as possible. We've got one here from Gary Gray, Joshua. He says, how much of the Patterson fee do you think Gio will have to play with in this window? It would be good to get an out-and-out right winger. I think we've spoken record about the need to bring someone in that position. I think it's no secret that Rangers are looking at players out there, but in terms of the fee that you'll have to play with, do you think you'll have a bit of money to spend? Oh, I think Josh is just froze it on his side.
Here I am, I'm back there. Sorry, mate.
There he's there.
My wee dog was chewing the Wi-Fi wire. Well, we were talking about how much money will go back into the squad. I mean, I think that, and we'll have more on the site in this in the next week, but I think what's important to note, Derek, is that although Van Bronckhorst has done really well to morph this squad into the different, in his words, the significantly different roles of the 4-3-3 in terms of how the number 8s play, how the fullbacks play, how the wingers play. I think he's done really well with what he's had, but he will want more depth in that area. So if you think about it, as we've again spoken before, at the number 6, you have now 5 players that could play there. Kamara, Jack, Davis, Lundstrom, Sands, Kelly, if you include that, you have 6 players. At number 8, you've got Aribo, Arfield, Hadji, but are you going to play Hadji as a number 8 away at Pataudry? Maybe not. On the right wing, as we've discussed before, perhaps there's need for someone who can play in every game, as opposed to we've seen Sakala play there at times, Scott Wright play there at times, Hadji play there at times. So I think what you will see is you certainly will see a couple more players come in to suit this manager and this management style more. And I think what's important to note, Derek, and I was thinking about this when I was working on a piece, is that because Rangers have this sporting director, what am I trying to say, platform, where they don't build a squad specifically for a manager, and all, give or take a little bit. I'm sure Gerrard had a lot of say in the players that came in. For example, Kemar Roos, a really good example of someone who fitted in really nicely to that 2 number 10 positions. But they've planned longer than the manager is going to be here, which is better than, in my opinion, completely tailoring a squad to a manager who could leave, whenever, as we know, in football, managers can leave at the drop of a coin, whatever the saying is. So I do think you'll see some movement in that direction. I think a right winger is probably a priority, someone that can play in every game like Ryan Kent. Equally, let's not forget how good Scott Wright looked at home in terms of stretching that defence, and how happy Gio was with him in the post-match press conference, Derek, when he was speaking about Wright giving the team exactly what he wanted in that area. So yeah, going to be interesting to see, but I would definitely expect a couple more players to come in just to give a little bit more depth, certainly in that number 8 area, and maybe a right winger as has been discussed plenty.
Yeah, there's an interesting question that's come in. A lot of questions on Connor Goldson. We'll try and get to some of those. Top Hole gets in touch. Good morning, guys. Do you think if the rumours of Lundstrom and Kelly going on loan leaves us short in centre midfield? I can't see Kamara being here in February. and Jack is still an injury doubt. What do you make of that? Of course, Stephen Kelly apparently attracting the attention. There's Johnny. Hello, Johnny.
Hello. I just thought I'd just interrupt, drop myself in. I had a meeting and I'm free, so I thought I'd just join.
Super.
Take it away, Johnny. You can give him that question, then Derek. I'll sit back and relax.
What?
Yeah. Deal with this. Topo says, do you think the rumours of Lundstram and Kelly going on loan leaves a shot in centre midfield? I can't see Kamara being here in February, and Jack is still an injury doubt. You've done a piece on this, Johnny, of course, a good piece on John Lundstram yesterday, where it's just not worked for him at Rangers so far. I'm not too sure if it will work for him going forward. In terms of that centre midfield, but we've talked before about it being a little bit top heavy. If those players head out the door, do Rangers maybe a little bit struggling in that department? Do they need to bolster it?
Yeah, I would say so. If you lose two, I mean, we've got to remember, Derek, the important thing this season is COVID. You need to have that depth, because you can easily get wiped out in an area. Yes, Rangers have got a lot of good young players from the B team who have now got experience in men's football, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to be going coming out of the January window with a weaker squad than Rangers have at the moment. I don't think that would be a wise situation. So I think if Stephen Kelly, and it's expected that he is going to go on loan, does depart, that's one thing. But John Lundstram, no, I think you would need to replace him with someone else who could come in and do the job. I know it's tempting to say, well, he's not really had much of a look in under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, but you're still talking about a guy who's had 23 appearances over the course of the season. That's significant halfway through. So that's a player that would need to be replaced 100%. For example, if Juninho Bacuna was to go, that's maybe a different story, given that he's not really been in the team. Stephen Kelly not really been in the team, but no, I think Lundstram's been, for all his flaws and for all, it's not necessarily worked the way people would have wanted it. And by the way, I say his flaws, I still think he's a very good player.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I think you would need to replace him.
Yeah, a couple of questions here. Annie McInnes, morning, gents. Any update on Big Phil? We're led to believe that it'll be at the end of the winter break. He'll be back in contention. Whether he'll be ready for Aberdeen is a different story, but we'll get a clearer picture on that when we speak to the manager. I'm sure it'll be next Monday, I'd imagine, ahead of that trip to Pataudry, but he'll be a big boost when he does come back into the side. David Burt has a question here, Joshua. How does Goldson, seemingly running down his contract, sit with you both? His consistency was a vital part of winning 55. May leave a bitter taste in the mouth when he leaves. It's been the ongoing rumbling saga, hasn't it, for months and months. What's the end game with this, Joshua? I know there's another comment saying that if Rangers bring in the likes of Suter and Doki, maybe that might persuade Goldson to stay. How do you see, if you had a crystal ball, how do you see it ending up?
I think the realistic end of this is that Goldson does run his contract down and moves down to England in May. And listen, Derek, if he goes and wins the Premiership again and maybe adds a cup to that, I think he'd go with a lot of good wishes, even though people are disappointed that he wants to leave. But people are disappointed that he not wants to leave, that he might leave. People are disappointed because of how good he is. He struggled at points earlier in the season. I think looking back on it, the structural issues around him that were so pronounced at that League Cup semi-final were out with his control. He did have a couple of individual games which were a little bit shaky. I remember Dundee away, him and Balogun both. They weren't great on that occasion, but ever since the new manager has come in, I think he's looked excellent. And I think what you want when a player's out of contract, if their performance is, if you can see they're committed, in my opinion, that's all you can ask. Rangers own Connor Goldson for a set amount of time. He signs a contract as in any line of employment, and it's his right if he wants to go and finish his career down south. If that's the case and he wins the league this season, he'll have given 4 really good years to Rangers, and I think he'd go with a lot of good wishes. But I certainly don't think you can look at Connor Goldson and think he's checked out or anything of the like. I think what you've seen is someone in the League Cup semi-final. In hindsight, his comments, I think, showed that he was hurting. And ever since, his performances have been really consistent, and he continues to always make himself available, Derek, which is been very much appreciated, I'm sure, from everyone concerns given the amount of injuries in the centre-back area. So I think that's a realistic outcome. And I think if that happens and he continues with this form, then he would go with a lot of good wishes, despite the fact that a lot of people, if not all, will want him to stay at Rangers for another good few years.
Yeah, Aldo says he thinks that he'll leave in the summer. Ross Chalmers says the strong links that the two players we mentioned. Do you think we could convince Goldson to sign so important for Rangers? Johnny, I think where do you stand on the end game? I think you've said before that you think he's heading out the door. I think with the fact that Rangers are trying to target these two players suggests that it may be a whole new central defensive backline next summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Goldson's one of those ones where you just have to say, I think the guy has given tremendous service, and the club have definitely got value for money out the £3 million they paid.
Yeah.
If you told the Rangers fans what Goldson would have given you 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago, whatever it was, I think everybody would have been happy with what he's delivered. He's still performing really well. He was ropey, there's no doubt about it. At the start of the season, he didn't look the same Connor Goldson. But under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, he's back to the kind of form that we saw last term. And to me, he deserves to go away and get his 50 grand a week or 60 grand a week contract if he can get that in the English Premier League. It's a difficult market to match. And unfortunately, we're right next to that league. And he's played there before. And I'm sure his agent will be going down there trying to get a really, really, really strong deal, given what he's done at Ibrox. And I think he'll get really, really good wages down there. So it's one of those. He's 29 and he's got to try and set up his family, and it's his last big move. So you kind of, on a human level, totally understand it. It would have been great to keep him at Rangers for the long term. But if Ross Wilson can do his thing and go out and get players that are of similar quality, or players who can be of similar quality over the longer term, then I think it's just one of those ones that you have to accept. And I certainly don't think he should be held in low regards, given what he's done.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of wee points to finish up with. First of all, Joshua, you've got a great tactics piece on the website this morning with regards to the sort of looking at Rangers defensively. If you give us a wee insight, what is it you've had a wee look at?
Yeah, well, obviously in the league, Derek, Rangers have conceded 1 goal in 7 games under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, and before that they were conceding a goal a game. It took them 13 games, I think, to concede the same amount this season as it did in the entirety of last season. And basically looks at the numbers that behind this recent upturn. It wasn't that long ago that we were speaking about the consistency with which Rangers were going behind in games, the consistency in the type of goals they were conceding, vulnerability from set pieces. So it looks into all these things. The amount of shots Rangers are conceding from counter attacks is halved. The quality of chances they're conceding from set pieces is more than halved, and tries to put a little bit of explanation to that, how that's happened structurally, with some comments that the manager said in that previously mentioned interview back in his homeland. So you can check that out on the website. As I say, we've also got a scout report from Patrick Caskey there today. So lots of good stuff to see through your Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, looking forward to this afternoon, there's a Rangers player in action, gents. Joe Rebo kicks off his AFCON competition with Nigeria. They take on Mo Salah's Egypt. How do you think he'll get on in this tournament, Johnny? I think everyone wishes him well, but Nigeria not so much so.
Yeah, you don't want Nigeria to have a deep run in this tournament, do you? Listen, it just depends, Joe Rebo, how you use him. I think we've seen under Steven Gerrard that he's a player with immense talent, but if you kind of try and inhibit him and don't give him the freedom, then you're not going to get the best out of him. And that's what we've seen under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, a guy who's had the shackles taken off and all of a sudden has exploded in terms of his performance. So I would advise the Nigeria coach to have a really, really strong look at what's happened at Ibrox and to take that into account, because it's absolutely clear to me that he's a much, much, much better player when he's given a little bit of freedom within a tactical system. If you take the shackles off, you'll get the best of Joe Rebo. So I hope to see that from Nigeria. But I think, as you say, Derek, I think anyone who who is covering Rangers closely will know that Nigeria getting past the sort of the first round of fixtures after the group stage is probably not what anyone would want to see.
No. What do you make of this comment, Joshua? Is that a chance for Yanis Hadji to step up and take over the mantle that Aribo is left at the moment? He'll be missing for a number of games. It's a right opportunity for the Romanian to really step up here.
Yeah, definitely. But then it's interesting. What will the manager do at Aberdeen away? Will he tweak his system perhaps? Could you see Kemar Roof coming behind Alfredo Morelos? Certainly, though, I think Hadji at one point will be given an opportunity in that role, and I would say that seems to be his preferential position. So I'm sure that he will be really motivated to play well there. Although he's a different player from Aribo, so I'd imagine that there'll be some kind of adaptation to that from the manager.
Yeah. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. Thanks to everyone for getting in touch as ever. Remember, if you've not already done so, if you're watching us on YouTube, so many of you are, thank you very much for that. If you hit the subscribe button, then you'll never miss a video when we go live. And also to take advantage of a fantastic offer on the Rangers Review site, subscribe now for just £2.99 a month to support top quality journalism covering the club you love. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. Okay, we'll be back again tomorrow, but until then, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.